He spent an hour with me. I told him my whole life story. I spilled everything out. And to his great credit, I can't believe how lucky I was. He said, I don't know what's going on with you, but you're not clinically depressed and I can't prescribe you meds. So on the one hand, I'm leaving there feeling great because I'm like, okay, I'm not hooked onto some drug. But on the other hand, I'm still at square one and I don't know how to solve this problem. And so, but here we were, we had watched the movie. So it wasn't anticipatory joy. I was just in the moment, sitting in a dark movie theater, having enjoyed a nice movie with my husband. And this burst of joy came over. I was so happy for no reason.
Kim, how did you find Carnivore?
Well, like so many people have said, fortunately, the miracle of YouTube algorithm got me on board with Carnivore. I've been keto since 2019, and I follow a wonderful, wonderful naturopathic keto doctor. His name's Carl Goldkamp. And so I've been watching his videos for years, and I don't know why, but a couple months ago, I'd never heard of this Dr. Berg guy. Apparently, he's a huge keto naturopath guy too. But in all the years I've been following Dr. Goldkamp, I've never been teased with Dr. Berg videos until 2 months ago. And he had a video, he's keto, but he had a video about keto versus carnivore. And he was I was intrigued, so I watched it. Never heard about this Dr. Berg guy, but I thought I'd give it a try, and I watched it. And he was very positive about the carnivore diet, and I had been struggling. Keto was extremely helpful to me in my health journey, but I was not 100% on keto. There was still a lot of fatigue and unpredictability in my energy levels, depending on what I ate, and I could not solve it. I tried, at the end of my keto journey, I was literally just eating meat and like 2 ounces of blueberries and like 2 ounces of stewed carrots and some cruciferous vegetables with dinner. I was not one of these, keto people that's, eating keto cheesecake and keto cookie. I really tried hard on keto to get sort of a consistent solution to my fatigue and my energy. But anyway, so this Dr. Berg guy was pretty positive about the carnivore thing. He's like, hey, it's not for me, but if you're struggling with keto, you might try carnivore. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then the very next video that was presented to me was Dr. Berry. And I got to say, I was on board the minute I listened to him talk about the proper human diet. And I thought then and there, this is it. I got to try this because I have literally tried everything else. And that was like early February. And we were about to go on a trip. And I thought maybe I should wait till we get back from this trip. It's only 4 or 5 days. And I said, no, I'm starting today. That's it. I am eliminating these vegetables and things, and I'm just eating meat. So I did that like a couple days before our trip. And then I tried to be carnivore on this trip. So you can imagine a brand new person who's just starting carnivore, trying to travel and be carnivore. It was a journey. I almost made it. I did have to rely on a keto bar because I got really hungry on the flight home because, the airlines only give you cheese. That's the most carnivore thing they offer. So, but I would say I was fairly successful on that trip being carnivore. So that's the short answer as to how I found carnivore. The long answer is, the typical thing we've heard on your channel so much, raised in the standard American diet, had weight issues early on, began the yo-yo dieting, was up at 220 pounds at my highest, got scared. I was heading into my 40s, and here I was, 220 pounds. At work, they had a conference for women, and there was a doctor there. Her name's Dr. Peak, Pamela Peak, and she talked about if you're overweight, you're going to end up with either diabetes, heart disease, or cancer, period. And it scared me, and so I lost the weight. I lost the weight doing the calories in, calorie out thing, exercising more, eating less, starving myself. And that, I lost the weight, but it was a lot of work. work. I started by walking, walking a lot, and then I started swimming. I love to swim. I grew up in Southern California, so I'm a swimmer. And then they were going to close the pool for maintenance because I live in Seattle now, so I don't have my own pool like I did in LA. But and I thought, oh, I can't go 6 weeks without swimming because I got to manage this weight thing, right? And so I bought a bicycle because I also loved to bicycle, and then that started my obsessive bicycling journey. But I never felt great. I lost the weight, and wasn't worried about those three diseases anymore. But everything else was still hard. My managing my energy levels, managing my sleep, and of course, as a woman, I'm heading into perimenopause, so things just got worse and worse. Uh, Emotions, anxiety, insomnia, that started to creep into I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky person. But what also happened is in 2010, after I'd been bicycling for about 3 years, I got sucked in by the documentaries on Netflix, and I got sucked into the whole juicing craze. I bought a big old juicer. I was juicing every morning, thinking that this was, raw. And then I got into like the raw vegetables, don't cook anything. And of course, started backing out of the meat, trying to go less animal, right? So now I'm not eating cuts of meat. I'm having like some fish, some eggs, but very little. I think my protein was down at maybe 30 grams a day or some ridiculous number like that. And then I did dabble in being vegan. I did like start cutting out, the eggs and the fish and doing tempeh and stuff like that. And boy, that was not good for me because what ended up happening was um, I've been in a high stress work environment for 25 years, and my mom suddenly basically got sick and died overnight on me. And the shock of that just tipped me into complete adrenal fatigue because here I am, high stress, not just work, but also all this bicycling because that's tough on your adrenals to be constantly pumping out this adrenaline. Because I mean, I'm doing bike rides like 100 miles, right? Like it's not a 10-mile pedal. Um, and so physically, I'm stressed from all this exercise, and mentally, I'm stressed from all this high pressure work I'm doing, and now emotionally, I'm stressed because I'm in deep grief about my mom, and of course, I'm in the throes of perimenopause. So what happened was I got through the grief of my mom. I thought I was coming out of it. It took about a year, and then I started having these panic and out of the blue, just like this high anxiety. There was a movie in the 70s by Mel Brooks called High Anxiety. And I had high anxiety. I mean, like heart palpitations all day long, worried about the future. And it was so uncharacteristic for me. All of my spiritual tools that I've used throughout my life did not work. I could not snap myself out of this just terrifying fear of the future. And I knew something was just really wrong. So the first thing I did was I called my OBGYN and I said, hey, I'm almost 50. I think I'm going through some hormone thing. Can we get my hormones? Sure. Came in, they pulled my blood, they do my hormones, and she says, nope, you're normal. We're close to menopause. So I think, okay, now I'm really scared, right? Because if it's not hormones, then that means I'm losing my mind. So I struggled with this with no answer so that was like in November of 2017. And in February, I had one of the worst panic attacks to date. So this was like 3 months now. I'm struggling with this high anxiety, and I have this panic attack that just was really bad, like so dark. I mean, I really thought that my whole life had been a mistake, and just scary thoughts. And My husband had to cancel a business trip. I had a big responsibility that I had to back out of at work because I couldn't function. I mean, and I just when I did go back to work, one of my colleagues said, "You need to see my wife's integrated medicine." So I said, "Okay, I'll do anything," right? And so I went to this lady, which was great. She's an MD, but she had a background in Eastern medicine. So she ran a bunch of tests and she found, thank goodness, because this is the beginning of, she didn't solve my problem, but this was the beginning of some really good information about my condition. So she ran a bunch of tests. It turns out I had really low magnesium. I have the MTHFR gene mutation, which means I don't methylate my B vitamins from the food. So here I am, I'm eating mostly vegetables, which even a healthy person that doesn't have this gene mutation can't get enough B vitamins out of. And here I am with this methylation problem. So I'm not getting any B vitamins essentially from my food because of my body, my genetics. What else did she find out? So she put me on a tablespoon of omega-3 fish oil, like fish oil, a magnesium supplement, a methylated B vitamin. She demanded that I start meditation, which was a wonderful thing. So she prescribed me a therapist, and I learned a lot about meditation, and that saved me in a way because that was the only thing that interrupted the attacks and the high anxiety until I found the solution myself, because that only basically marginally improved my condition. So anyway, I had an even worse panic attack in July that year, July 2018, and she was gone for a month. And so she referred me. I was like, it was so bad. I was thinking I would be chopping my vegetables. So I would prepare like these salads for my work, right? Because I would have to bring my big vegetable meals with me to work. And on Saturdays, I would chop all this stuff and I'd make 5 of everything and put it in the fridge. And so there I am chopping my vegetables. And it was so bad, Dave. I thought I could take this big knife that I'm chopping all these vegetables and I could just show the anxiety with stuff. I mean, it was that dark. And I looked up and I saw my husband and I'm like, oh God, I can't do that thing. But like for a split second, that sounded like I would get some relief from the anxiety. You know what I mean? Like it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying thoughts that I would have. Anyway, so I just prayed and I was just like, okay, God, help me find an answer. I'll just keep hanging in here until we can find an answer. And so she did, even though she was on vacation, and I told her that story. She goes, you need to see a psychiatrist. So I went, and so now I'm off to the psychiatrist. And I told him, I said, I don't want to go on any SSRIs or any kind of drugs like that. I'm kind of against that. But if you tell me it's going to stop those thoughts from ever happening again, those scary thoughts, I will do it. I will do it if you tell me. So he spent an hour with me. I told him my whole life story. I spilled everything out. And to his great credit, I can't believe how lucky I was. He said, I don't know what's going on with you, but you're not clinically depressed and I can't prescribe you meds. So on the one hand, I'm leaving there feeling great because I'm like, okay, I'm not hooked onto some drug. But on the other hand, I'm still at square one and I don't know how to solve this problem. And so I had another panic attack like a week later, and the thought popped in my head, you know what? I'm going to call that original OBGYN. I don't know why, but I called their office and I said, you people tell me I'm normal, but I am not effing normal. And you have to do something for me. And this nurse practitioner, so not a doctor, but and not a nurse, but has like some higher education than a nurse. So she's allowed to prescribe things. She fortunately was the lady I got on the phone. She goes, you know what, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm going to prescribe a super intense antihistamine for you, and it is going to help with the panic attacks, I promise. And so I said, fine. And she prescribed it over the phone. I drove to the drugstore. It was like $3. It was like amazing. I'm like, okay, for $3, I'll try anything. And so I go home and I take this pill and it completely knocks me out. It's the middle of the day and I am out like a light on the couch. And a couple hours later, I wake up, and Dave, it was the first time I felt like myself in, what is it? It's like July or August. It's maybe August or September. So 11 months. I've been crazy. And I woke up from that thing and I felt like myself. I felt like this, like, for a little while after waking up. Of course, it's crept right back in. And I thought, this is crazy. How can an antihistamine help me with anxiety? And that's what I did. I went into the browser and I typed in allergies and anxiety or something like that. And I learned about histamine intolerance. And people who have, long story short, people who have really bad histamine intolerance, like me in that moment, many of them have adrenal fatigue. So I'm off and running. I'm now researching adrenal fatigue. I'm getting books on adrenal fatigue. And they have a big focus on diet. So they want you to eat a certain way, like time of the day, which I'm not a breakfast person, but they're like, you got to have meal first thing in the morning. I'm like, how am I going to do that? But they also emphasize basically a paleo-ish diet. So I'm like, okay. The other thing to know is at this point, I'm also right around the summer of 2018, all of a sudden, completely unable to eat carbs. I would have like a bite of brown rice or some oatmeal and just, it was like it would shut me down. So just by virtue of having to survive and function, I couldn't eat those complex carbs at all. So those had weeded out of my diet. And of course, when you don't have complex carbs as a veganish person, you got nothing. So I had reluctantly gone back to like eggs and fish at this point. So I'm vegetables, eggs, and fish at this point. But anyway, so I start eating this adrenal fatigue way, trying to force myself to have something in the morning, etc., and mostly paleo-ish. And that's not really doing much for me. But the book also said if you have a really bad case of adrenal fatigue, you may need progesterone. Wow. So I'm thinking now I'm connecting the dots, right? Because like I am 51 at this point. I fully have every sign of adrenal fatigue. And the book recommended another book about menopause. So there I learn about estrogen dominance. Okay. So now I figure I have all the signs of adrenal fatigue and estrogen dominant. This is my solution. So I will tell you that progesterone saved my life. Massive amounts of progesterone saved my life because it got rid of the high anxiety and the panic attack. But it was really hard to manage because I would literally have to carry a jar of the cream, and if I got into a stressful situation because I was so depleted, I would have to like rub it on just to come back out of that anxiety. But the other thing it did is like I was desperate to find a consistent solution. So while this was a solution, it was still hit or miss, doing this. And so that focused me back on the diet because all of the blogs I read around estrogen dominance and the progesterone is it's a multi-pronged approach. It's yes, the progesterone, but you've got to look at your foods. And so there they talked about the ketogenic diet. So I'm so grateful because once I did get on the ketogenic diet, I got a lot of improvement, a lot of improvement. More fat, more protein than what I was getting before, but I still had this fatigue. So I didn't have extreme fatigue like I did before, but I still noticed like, dog walk. I couldn't really like pour it on, bicycling, forget it. I could not bicycle. And most of my symptoms were resolved with the keto and the progesterone, but things like constipation, no, didn't go away. The low level fatigue, inconsistent energy. No matter what I did. So I was desperate because I knew that I would be okay, but I was not me. I wasn't thriving. I wanted to thrive. So that brings us to this February, 2 months ago, almost 2 months. In 3 days, 3 or 4 days, it'll be 2 months on Carnivore. And I tell you what, man, it is amazing. It was amazing. So the other thing that happened to me is last October, I got COVID. Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube, but um, okay, I'm all right. So,
It's fine.
okay. So I hadn't had it up until that point, and I also, one of the symptoms I had with this complete nervous breakdown that I had was terrible pain. I have injuries, so I crashed on this shoulder on the bicycle, and I've had back injuries and a foot injury, and so with the estrogen dominance comes massive inflammation, and so these parts of my body were really in a lot of pain. Then I found progesterone and I found keto, and they backed off, and I felt pretty normal until COVID last October. And that's really one of the driving forces too for wanting to try carnivore, because after COVID, these things just lit up again. Super painful, even more painful than the estrogen dominant inflammation. So the COVID inflammation was way worse than that other inflammation, because I mean, now I would wake up in the middle of the night crying in pain from this shoulder. I could not even move. I was afraid to move in bed because it hurt so bad. And so I bought a far infrared blanket, because that's supposed to break inflammation down. I'm drinking ginger juice. I'm trying everything to kill this inflammation. I even bought CBD cream to rub. Nothing worked. It cut it a little bit, like it made it so that I could function and I could sleep through the night, but it constantly hurt, this low level pain. And so I wanted to include that, because that was the first sign I got from carnivore. So I kid you not, like 2 days, not even 2 days, this pain was completely gone, and it has not returned in 2 months. I mean, completely pain free. Unbelievable to me. I mean, October, November, December, January, February, 5 months of rubbing cream and laying in saunas and trying to get relief. And in 2 days of carnivore, man, no pain in the shoulder, the back, the foot, gone for 2 months now. So I knew something was up right away. And then the next thing is, I love to hike with my husband and my dog, right? And it didn't matter what I ate before carnivore. I mean, I tried everything. I tried like having a shot of espresso before we go hiking, some almond butter or whatever for a boost of fat. It didn't matter what I did. I was always 300 paces behind them when we'd climb up a hill while hiking. Going downhill, I had to use poles because my knees hurt so bad, and they would make this crunching sound. And going up, I was always 300 paces behind them. It's very depressing. If you've ever hiked with people, it's very depressing to be unable to keep up with your group. And, but I would try and try and try, nothing. And so 4 days into carnivore, not only am I keeping up, he was a little huffing and puffing to keep up with me. I could not believe it, Dave. I could not believe the improvement, like overnight. And really what I amount it to, I'm a full-on Dr. Chafee fan now. I do believe that all of those vegetables and fruits and stuff, not that I had much, 2 ounces of blueberries, 2 ounces of carrots, and then maybe it was quite a bit of cruciferous with dinner, but I think they completely interrupted my body's ability to get the nutrients from. So it's a combination of, now I'm eating like a pound and a half of beef. So you're getting all the goodness there, but it's also eliminating those flavors. I don't know that they interfere with the body's ability to function. I don't know, but now we go hiking all the time, and every time I climb up the hill with him or ahead of him, we get to the top, he high fives, and I say, it's still working. Carnivore is still working. So that's the long story of how I got to carnivore.
I'm just kind of shaking my head, thinking the time frame is so short.
For me
Like,
being on carnivore now,
to get this amount of improvement.
yeah, I'm stunned. I'm stunned at how great I mean, this thing resolved 2 or 3 days. I mean, 100%. My knees don't crunch. I don't have to use the poles hiking at all. I can go downhill for days. Nothing hurts. I mean, I haven't been on my bicycle like I was riding a lot last summer, but I put the bike away maybe July or August last summer. And the other day, Dave, I decided very stupidly out because you're supposed to kind of warm up a little bit. I'm in Seattle and it's 40 degrees out. I hopped on my bicycle and I rode 18 miles in the headwind. And usually, like even when I'm in shape doing 18 miles in a headwind, my knees would hurt. Nothing hurt. I wasn't sore. My knees didn't hurt. I mean, there's something about this way of eating that it heals and it heals rapidly. Um, so the fatigue and the energy and the pain, inflammation, it's just gone. Um, and then the only other lingering thing I struggled with was, the constipation. And that's the other thing I'm kind of stunned. I was ready for the wave of, diarrhea that everyone talks about. Never happened. All that happened is all of a sudden I'm having these marvelous little Bristol 4 stools that I've wanted my entire life. I mean, I have been constipated since I was a tiny kid. I mean, I can remember as a kid sitting on the toilet telling my mom, why isn't it happening? And these little pellets are coming out and I'm straining. I mean, a little kid straining. And that's been my story my whole, and to have it just like first time in my life, just it kind of be an effortless thing was just such a blessing. And then it's interesting, about 5 weeks in, I did have a couple days of, because I tried this high fat thing. I was following steak and butter gal, and I tried the high fat thing for a few days, and I did get a little bit of those results that people fear, but it was just one day. But yeah, I mean, I can't. I'm just sad. I'm sad that I struggled my whole life, and here I am, 56, and I'm finally living and eating and feeling the way that I should have my whole life. You know? I had a pretty wild youth, and so I made a lot of mistakes in my late teens, early 20s. It set me back. Like I didn't graduate with my degree until I was almost 27, and I didn't start my career until I was almost 29 or almost 30. And if I look back at my life, you would think that I would be pretty, regretful of that. But I'm not. The thing I'm most regretful of is that whole 5, 6 years of vegetarian vegan thing. I'm more regretful of that. I wish that had never happened to me because it set me up for that terrible nervous breakdown. I wasn't equipped to be with my mom at the end the way I would have liked to be. I would have liked to be this person with her at the end, instead of this, nervous wreck and, emotional roller coaster person that I was. And then I would have come out of that grief and survived that grief better. You know what I mean? Like it would. So that's my biggest regret is ever getting involved with that vegetarian vegan thing, because it really depleted me at a time at the worst time of my life, really, when all the stress was there. I wasn't equipped to deal with it properly.
Yeah.
So, but hindsight, I am where I am now. So I'm just grateful. I'm just so grateful that I found this way of living. We have
Yeah.
to help people.
Mm. So you mentioned you were having about a pound of beef. So, like, how are you eating day to day?
Yeah. Okay. So I would love to go OMAD like you. I really wish I could. That would be my preference. But My husband doesn't really, he's not a breakfast person. So our meal together is dinner. And I can't go dinner to dinner. Like I need something in the beginning of my day. So what I do is too mad. And I do put like a tablespoon of butter in like a chocolate element in the morning. That's kind of my wake up thing. And so I get a little bit of energy from the butter. But then around, I'd say 11 o'clock ish, give or take a half hour, I'll have half a pound of beef. I love ground beef. I absolutely love ground beef. And I've never, ever, 2 months, in 2 months, I've never, ever not looked forward to my ground beef. It's amazing. I love it every single time. And then I'll do 3 sunny side up eggs and a lot of butter. And I have about 4 ounces of goat kefir. And because I live in Seattle, I do take some supplements. I take a vitamin D and I take a K2 with that because you should always have your D3 and K2 together. And then I take DIM. Just, I'll probably get off of that because I'm through menopause now. But it's part of my little vitamin package. So that helps with like managing estrogen. So I have the 4 ounces of kefir to wash that down. And then I take I still do the tablespoon of fish oil because I'm not good about eating. I'm never going to sit down and eat a pan of sardines like some of these carnivores. So so the fish oil seems to balance out my omega-3s and omega-6s. So that's breakfast. And then I'll go all day, 6, 7 hours, 8 hours, whatever. And then we'll have dinner together. And dinner is usually like, I would be completely happy with another half pound, maybe 3/4 of a pound, even pound of beef, ground beef for dinner. I would love it. But I cook for my husband because I'm not working anymore. He is. So I try to mix it up for him. So about 2 nights a week we'll have some sort of beef, like either ribeyes or chuck roast or something. And then one night a week we'll have lamb. And then one night a week I try to do, he likes pork chops, so I'll do pork chops and some chicken, and occasionally some salmon. But now what I'm doing is I'll have very little of the chicken. So tonight is a chicken night. So I'll have a little of the chicken too. So I think I'm going into a mode where I'll have like beef every night, regardless of what I'm feeding him. And I'll just have a little less of the beef and a little bit of whatever I'm feeding him. But yeah, so that's it. I'll usually round out with that. I could even do eggs for dinner. I love eggs. But yeah, that's 2 meals a day.
Nice. So your husband's doing this with you?
My husband, my husband is such a trooper. Like, when I was doing the whole juicing thing, he would drink the juice with me. He would never go vegetarian or vegan. He likes his meat too much. But he put up with me and my weird stuff. I just make my stuff for me and our stuff for him, or his stuff for him. But when the carnivore thing came up, um, you know, I said, if you want vegetables, he pretty much was already like off. He wasn't really keto, but he wasn't really eating lots of carbs because they're just not in the house. And I told him, I go, I'm never going to make you rice. I'm never going to make you potatoes. That's just not the minute I went keto. So if you want those, I'll buy them. You can make. So sometimes he would, but oftentimes he'd be just as happy with the meat and veg as I was. So then I tell him I'm going carnivore. And he says, well, I trust you because he saw me do all the research. He knows I research stuff and I don't make decisions lightly. And so he goes, well, if you say I don't need fiber, then I'm not really in love with these vegetables. I'll give this a try with you. So I would call him ketovore because he still has a sweet tooth. And so I will make him like twice a month. I'll make him some sort of keto treat. Like he likes my keto biscotti. So I'll make him that. But yeah, pretty much he just eats, I make egg bites for him. So because he's working, he'll come upstairs. He's not a breakfast person either, so he'll come upstairs right when I'm having to eat. He'll pop a couple egg bites and 3 or 4 pieces of bacon and heat that up. And then that's his breakfast. And then we'll have the meat together. So yeah, he's pretty much carnivore with exception of a little, almond flour baked good here or there. Yeah, he's
And when you're making those kind of almond flour baked goods for him, like the biscotti or whatever, you're not tempted by that?
no, it's the strangest thing, Dave, because I used to have a sweet tooth. I really did, even though I wasn't doing it much of it when I was keto. Like if I got invited to a party or something or a potluck, I would make like a keto carrot cake or something. Because I used to enjoy baking and stuff, but because it would allow me to partake with what everybody else, they're all having the like wheat flour crap. But if I brought a keto thing, I knew I could have a slice when I was keto. But I just have no desire for it. I'm so satiated. Like I literally haven't touched one of those biscottis. Um, and no interest in doing it. And I can make it for him, and I'm glad he has it. And last night he even made a cup of decaf after dinner so that he could dunk the biscotti. It was a whole production, and I was just sucking down my element. I guess the one thing I do really love is my element electrolyte drinks. I can't. I have to keep it to 2 a day. I'm one of these people that I think needs more salt. At least maybe I'm still healing. Maybe that'll decrease as I heal more. But I do better. My energy is better when I have enough sodium. So even though I sprinkle the salt on all my meats and stuff, it's still not enough. But I start with an element in the morning, and then after dinner I have an element. So yeah, those are my big vices
And
now. Element, element.
because you're having so much sodium then, so you're not suffering any leg cramps or anything?
Oh no. Yeah. The interesting thing, Dave, is I did have about 3 or 4 weeks into the carnivore thing. I was in bed and my left big toe really started to hurt. And I thought, this is weird. This has never happened in my entire life. And so I looked into gout and, I just typed in gout and carnivore. And it's very interesting because some people, and I must be one of them, what happens is your liver, I think it's your liver, but one of your organs, if it's busy processing ketones, it can't really manage the uric acid as well until it so while you're adapting, while you're in the adapting phase, you can get high in your uric acid, which is the gout thing. But everything I read said, don't panic, just keep doing what you're doing, stay the course. And it was just that one day, and I've never had the pain in that toe again. So so yeah, no muscle cramps, no nothing. I just had that one toe pain for one day. But I think my liver's figured out how to do both the ketones and process the uric acid now, so I'm fine.
That's awesome. It's worked out, but it's got everything right now. Everything's in place. Excellent. So this is the path forward for you. There's no going back.
Absolutely. No going back. I look at it this way. Okay, I have to tell you, I have a friend, and I said to him the other day, he knows I'm doing this carnivore thing, and I had just watched, I don't know, one of Anthony Chaffee's podcasts where he was talking about how we're supposed to live till 120, and we have the telomeres, and if you're eating carnivore, you'll probably live to 120. And I said to my friend, I'm going to go back to work. Because I don't know if my bank account's going to carry me to 120. And he assured me that I'd done enough damage. I may make it to 100, 90 and 100. But he goes, don't worry about 120, Kim. You did enough damage to your body in your first 50 years. So I think my bank account can get me to 100. So I'm okay. But no. So like if I have, I'm 56, almost 57. So if I have 30 good years left, why on earth would I do anything other than eat carnivore if I feel this good? I tell you what, as long as I keep feeling this good, I am not changing a thing. I'm a big believer in if it works, don't fix it. And, I can't even imagine changing how I feel. The other day, Dave, we were at the movies. We had watched a movie and we were sitting there. We like to let the credits roll. And I had this sudden burst of joy for no reason. I mean, it's not anticipatory. I could imagine if I had a burst of joy waiting for the movie to start because I wanted to see it. It was Ghostbusters. But here we were, we had watched the movie, so it wasn't anticipatory joy. I was just in the moment, sitting in a dark movie theater, having enjoyed a nice movie with my husband. And this burst of joy came over. I was I was so happy for no reason. And I mean, I wasn't getting that on keto. I wasn't getting that kind of peace and contentment and just rightness. I don't know how to explain it. So, but as long as I feel like this, I'm not changing a thing. I'm not changing a thing.
Mhm.
Right?
There's no dessert, there's no food, there's nothing that tastes as good as can replace how good this feels, right?
That's right. 100% right. And I can't wait for Carrie's documentary to come out. I bought one of his sweatshirts. So we have to get the word out that because everybody deserves to feel this way. Everybody deserves to feel, happy and content and satiated. And, you wake up in the morning, you feel the urge to go to the bathroom, you go to the bathroom, you're done. You know, you don't have to strain, you don't have to count how many grams of fiber I mean, it's ridiculous. All of that stuff's ridiculous. And it takes away from life, right? It just takes away from doing the fun things. So, no, and it's so easy.
Definitely.
The other thing is it's so easy. If I ever started a YouTube channel, it would be called Lazy Carnivore because I'm kind of lazy. I mean, I do all of the cooking for the dinner stuff, but for my breakfast, I take 4 pounds of ground beef and I just bake it in the little squares they come in. And then when in the morning, I just make slices, heat it up, it's all melty and delicious, and I'm done. I mean, it's so easy. There's hardly any cleaning, there's hardly any scrubbing and scrubbing the vegetables and chopping the vegetables and oh, it's amazing. So it's a simple, clean lifestyle. Everybody deserves that.
If one of your friends came to you and was saying, "Look, you seem to be doing really well now. Um, I'm struggling. I want to feel as good as you do." How would you recommend they get started, and what advice would you give them?
Well, if they're eating carbs, they're going to have to start by going keto. I think it's the rare person that can go from, donuts and pancakes to carnivore. um, I would just say, hey, if you can, that's the other thing. I would say if I could go back and talk to the Kim having the panic attacks in 2017 and tell her just eat meat, oh my God, I would have saved myself so much, with the progesterone and the pills and, the supplements because I do think if I had just gone full on carnivore, half a beef a day and good fat, I probably would have never needed to go through all that stuff. So I think if you're desperate enough and you can handle, whatever gastrointestinal things will happen, do it because you'll get the healing faster. But if it's a tall order to think about going to straight carnivore, just do keto. Start with keto. Just get rid of the carbs and do some of those keto snacks and all that stuff Just get keto adapted, fat adapted, and then just start cutting out the vegetables. Just cut, if you're having a cup of Brussels sprouts, have a half a cup, and do that until they're gone off your plate. I would say either of those, but don't wait. Don't wait. If you're watching this and you're menopausal and you're having all of these issues that I described, do something today. Start today with, keto, and make a plan. Okay, in 3 weeks, I'm cutting all of my vegetables in half. And then a week after that, in a quarter. And then a week after that, they're off my plate. But get started. Watch all the videos. Watch Dr. Chafee. Watch Dr. Baker. I absolutely love Dr. Baker. I can't say thank you enough to these doctors that are out there talking about this, because it really is one of the reasons why you can go all in, because these guys are so knowledgeable. You listen to Dr. Baker, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Berry. They know their stuff, man. They have researched it. They've done the homework and they're living it, So you can trust these doctors. They know how the body works and they know what's working for them. So watch the videos. I think you'd have to be an idiot to watch Dr. Baker, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Berry, and not think, wow, there's something to this. You have to be a complete idiot to not believe these guys, because they can cite, especially Dr. Chafee. I don't know how he had time with his busy life, but he can cite chapter and verse of all the studies, you name it, on cholesterol, on plant toxins. It's fascinating. It's wonderful.
I think the proof is also in the pudding, right? So you could kind of say to people, okay, you're not sure what to do. Fine. Go vegan for 90 days. Go carnivore for 90 days. I know which one you're going to stick with.
Amen. Amen. See, yeah, just to keep a food diary, go vegan, and write down everything you eat, all the machinations you have to go through, what your stools are like, how you feel, how many times you feel like you have to put something in your mouth. That's the other freedom, man. I don't ever worry about if I am close to a snack time, or, I mean, it's effortless. Like if I get busy doing something, I don't have to stop and eat. If I plan dinner for 5 hours and something happens and I get busy and it's 7 hours, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. You don't I mean, and your husband's doing this with you, right? So it's not like you've got a partner saying to you, well, what's happening with dinner or something like that, right? It's just both of you can be completely anxiety free, hangry free, and yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's awesome.
That's such a freedom. It's a freedom. Somebody was listening to, forget which podcast, but she talked about, everybody called this a restrictive diet, but it's a freedom diet. Freedom to eat when you want, not when you have to. It's not. There's so many freedoms associated with it. Freedom to keep it simple. Less cleaning, less worrying.
Yeah, the only people that call it restrictive are people who have never tried it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there's so much variety. Like the people that say there's no variety. Oh my goodness. I mean, there's such a difference between a ribeye and ground beef, and sometimes we'll do filet mignon, and I'll just have, maybe some pork belly or bacon or something for the fat. But like we never feel like bored with what we're eating. So I don't understand people that think there's no variety. I mean, I can't really do shellfish because it's loaded with plastic, and plastic is like a xenoestrogen. So I really react to shrimp and oysters and stuff like that because they're filter feeders, and half of what they're filtering now is microplastics. So, but I used to love that stuff. I mean, if you don't have a reaction to oysters and shrimp and crab, I mean, there's so much variety on this diet. It's crazy.
Yeah. And even the fact the variety becomes less important to you because you just, as you say, you're not feeling as hungry anymore. You don't feel like you've got to, everything's doesn't have to be so elaborate, you know.
Right.
It's great.
The cleanup alone. I used to have to clean, you know, 5, 6 utensils of cooking, you know, the pan and the pot and the boiling and the steaming the vegetables. And I mean, it's crazy. Now I throw a steak in a pan, sear it, throw it in the oven, done. Wash one pan. Awesome.
Yeah. You just, as you're saying that, you're making me think of the personification of the diets, you know, and I'm like, well, maybe, you know, the carnivore diet, that's like, maybe this is a bad analogy, but like, you know, the Steve Jobs dressing of the diets, you know, it's just, it's always the same kind of just, it's easy and it works and it's functional.
Yes.
Whereas the vegan diet is more along the lines of, you know, Barry Manilow with the fruit salad hat or something. It takes a lot of preparation. It's
Yes. Exactly. Right.
mm,
Yeah. You can
yeah,
simplify your kitchen the way you simplify your closet.
yeah.
And there's another thing. There's another thing. Um, Poor Steve Jobs. I mean, he got led down that whole vegan path and we lost him. We lost him. He was in his 50s. Imagine if Steve Jobs had been a carnivore. What kind of inventions would we have now? Right? Like, so, you know, just the fact that all these vegans don't realize that they're dumbing themselves down. They're, you know, like their brains don't work as well and their body. We lose, you know, wonderful people because they're eating this way. It's sad.
Definitely. So, Kim, I know you haven't started the Lazy Carnivore yet, but is there a way people can reach out to you on social media or get in contact?
Yeah, I'm not big on social media, but I do want to offer help to any woman out there that's suffering with perimenopause or menopause. There is a way out if you want to go carnivore. There's people way more skilled than I am, you know, steak and butter gal, uh, my zero carb life. I love her so much.
Kelly Hogan.
Yes, Kelly Hogan. Thank you. I'm blanking on her. So I don't want to profess to be a carnivore coach. I'm only into this 2 months. But if you want to talk about, you know, what I know about, you know, how to manage the menopause side of it, I'm certainly happy to chat with anybody about what I went through. So I have some websites you can link off of my vanity. I do have a vanity website for my artwork, and I have a couple pages out there that detail primarily, you know, all the stages, paleo, keto, and carnivore, what they can do for menopause. Um, so you can link those there if people want to reach out to me. But the
Awesome.
main thing is there is hope. Absolutely. If you're suffering, just go carnivore. You will not be disappointed. I mean, we didn't even talk about my body and strength and I'm, you know, how strong I am. I used to have trouble like lifting heavy pans in the kitchen and to the point where I was like, what can I cook in instead of this pan? And now I can like juggle with them. I mean, the strength and the energy and like I'm not even trying to lose weight, you know. Pretty much at goal. I mean, maybe I'd like to lose another 10 or 15 pounds, but my body's changing, you know, like without even trying, you know, my clothes feel better, the same exact clothes fit better, feel better. Uh, I can't even wait to see what I'm like in 6 months or at a year on this diet. I can't even wait. It's going to be amazing. Every day it's
That's
amazing.
awesome. That's
So
that's great.
there is hope.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us, Kim. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Thank you. I really appreciate your channel so much. I mean, it's kind of daunting to go into carnivore, you know, that literally my husband is the only other person I know doing. in my day-to-day life. So having your channel is just such a blessing because I can see normal people, everyday people just like me, having the same experience. It's wonderful.